Alright, I'm just going to be covering how I did this render in Blender and Photoshop. This is just more of a process video, if anything, but I'll be doing like a step-by-step tutorial series of how I did each asset after this. But I first started off with actually sculpting the statues. So what I did was I just took some random human model I've sculpted in the past. I started masking out and extracting like parts for the actual armor. So here I'm doing the shoulder pads, and then you'll see me doing the boots right here. I could also just sculpt on the actual human model itself, but I just feel like this like method is better. So yeah, I'm just trying out different styles for the boots. And yeah, this is just like an experimental phase. You can just go ham. So the main goal for this stage is just to get a good blockout. Capture the main shapes, have a reference image open, and you just want a strong silhouette. Look around the whole model because it's 3D. Make sure everything looks good before you start adding in details. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm sculpting the face here. I'm just like giving it some extra attention to detail, making sure the proportions are all right. But I'm also only sculpting on the visible area, like that you can see through the helmet. Like the rest isn't really necessary. You just want to like kind of make these as fast as you can, so you could actually move on to making the environment. We also want to just pay attention and make sure like everything's looking believable. Okay, so again, you want to make sure you're using a bunch of references, have like a bunch of different sets of armor out on pure rough, and then just be efficient with your time. Because you want to like also focus on like actually starting a block out for the environment. But at the same time, like if doing it this way is too fast, just take your time. Don't actually rush it, but I'm just saying try to be efficient with like how you're managing your time. Yeah, so once you have your main block outing, you can start adding some secondary shapes, start making some incisions, adding some like sharpness, and then you can start moving on to like adding alphas. I'm just using like a simple rock texture right here. Once the statue was complete, I moved to Blender to model out a quick sword. Nothing too complex, just using simple box modeling in edit mode, making some insets for some intricate details. I just wanted to like get a simple shape ready so I could take it back into ZBrush. And then once I finished with all the sculpting of the statue, started blocking out in Blender. So I'm just duplicating around these statues. I added a camera, just trying to get a feel of what I might want this thing to look like. So this step is often like overlooked, but it's actually really important. You just want to keep it simple, make simple shapes, duplicate them around, try to get like a basic layout of your whole scene. Next up, I'm just adding in a light, just trying to guess a feel of like where I want the main light to be, just like the lighting in general. So playing around with the camera angle still. Then I'm just going to continue modeling, adding in more shapes. Now I'm just going to add in some more details, my previously modeled assets. Just trying out different shapes, making some bevels and all that. Just making some slight adjustments right here. So yeah, this is later on. I added a displacement map to the ground. Then, like basically, what I did was I added another plane under it, gave it a water texture, and then I like sculpted on the ground. Like I just used the inverted standard brush, and then like just for the water puddles, like so it would go under the water itself. Then I just duplicated the statues and made some more shapes in the back. The pillars are and the arches are just reused. So yeah, now I'm just making a window back here, and then behind the window, I believe I put an plane with a cloudy sky texture. And then I just plug that into the emission. So once everything was modeled, I started importing everything into ZBrush. Then I just started sculpting on them, just adding some wear and tears and like cracks and all that. I basically just wanted to like change the silhouette a bit. I didn't want to like be perfect looking because in my mind the environment was gonna be like this abandoned throne room. So I just wanted to sell that look even more by sculpting. But I think the sculpting wasn't that great quality this time. Like if you look at the render, you can't really see all the cracks that well. So for next time, I think I'm gonna like, try to push it even more. Okay, so now I'm just adding in some vegetation, just grass and like some small flowers sticking out. I didn't use like a system or geometry nodes because I just wanted it in some small areas. So I just thought I could do that manually. Yeah. So even right now, the grass is just kind of too small. I was just plain sticking around and like not really paying attention to that fact. But then later on, you'll see I scale it up, and it kind of makes sense. Like it's an abandoned area, so it makes sense to have like overgrown grass here. And it's just more noticeable in the final render, so I thought this was a good idea. So here you see me just like sculpting on the carpet. I was using the cloth brush for the folds, and then I was just moving it around a bit so it's not like what do you call it? It's not intersecting with the ground. Like it's weird. Clipping, yeah, it's not clipping with the ground. Yeah, and then I was just texturing it a bit, adding in some detail. Okay, so now I'm in SpeedTree. I'm just importing like some of the models into SpeedTree, and then I'm like using a certain node setup to generate these IDs, and I'm just copy and pasting it on like a bunch of different chunks to just get it to like scatter around all these meshes. Honestly, it gave a pretty nice result, kind of like veiny and all that. It just looked really nice to me. So I played around with this quite a bit. I even added it on the statues and some of the pillars. It's just a really nice touch of detail. And so I was just posing the skeleton asset after onto this throne. And then after this, I just moved on to Photoshop. Okay, so this was the raw render. Now, like what I'm gonna do is mostly just select certain areas that I want darkened or lightened up. Like the main focal point was the throne, so I just added some more saturation, some more brightness first. And then you see me using the mist pass to add some fog in. I actually didn't use Blender for that because the scene was kind of starting to get too heavy, so I just decided to do it in Photoshop instead. And I'm just painting in some actual like fog clouds. I don't know, I just think they look really cool. I just add them in almost every render. Playing around with the fog. Then I'm using the mist pass to ensure I'm only sculpting, I mean not so sculpting, sorry, drawing all the way in the back. Just make sure it doesn't affect the foreground. Changing the small silhouette in the foreground. And I'm just adding in some like dark spots around the corners because I thought they were a bit too bright. And then I'm adding in some fog glow. You can also do this in the Blender compositor, by the way. And I'm just adding in some God rays. Just making some small changes here and there, mostly in the actual center part. And then I'm just doing some color grading, adding some distortion. Just adding some dust particles. So that was mostly it, but this wasn't the exact same as the final render. The final was a bit different. I added in some more things later on, but it was still like the same post process. So yeah, this was basically my process for how I made this render. Right, so I'm sorry if this felt like a bit too rushed. I really tried fitting everything I could into like a shorter time span. But like for the future, I'll make more longer tutorials on like how to sculpt all these assets or like model them, and also how I do like the lighting and all that. So if you want to see that, subscribe and like stay tuned for that. And thank you for watching. I'll see you